Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. So today you guys have asked me to talk about the firings, about the layoffs. You've talked about the ag road and the town hall yesterday that showed up on Discord. I think everybody was looking for a copy of that and they wanted to see it. Unfortunately, I don't have a recorded version of that. I should have, but I was busy and I didn't record it. I assumed it would, like you, that it would be posted to YouTube, and it wasn't. So maybe it will be, but in the meantime, you want to know my thoughts on what we do know. We've got the post to read. We've got comments to engage with. I attended half of the Discord live town hall, so I have some thoughts on what I heard, but again, no recordings from that. If that sounds interesting, definitely stick around and hang with me here. We're going to get into this very serious issue and very surprising, well, yes and no, surprising event that has transpired here. So let's get into it. So the first thing is, you probably know now, it's been covered by several other YouTubers, that there were some significant layoffs. I think they're technically fired. I don't know the jargon there. Maybe firing is not technically correct. Maybe layoff is not technically correct, but they are no longer working with the company. 45% of the staff has been removed. That's a number that the Splinterlands team has thrown around. I don't know if it's exactly that, but that's what they've told us. Obviously, that's a massive change in who works for the company. I noticed that Bulldog was one of the people that was let go, and he did a video that I saw some of. You guys might want to go check out that live event that he did yesterday, talking, I think, among other things, sharing his view on the game, and I heard him talk about how this doesn't change his confidence with the game. I also heard him talking about how it's not going to change the fact that he's going to cover the game. But of course, he's emotional. This is a big, massive change in his life, and he kind of he said one thing, which is probably something a lot of us are feeling right now. Was I right to put all my eggs in this basket? That's a topic that that's a comment that he said, like, should I have bet on myself, is one thing he was referring to. Like, maybe he could have doubled down on what he was doing within YouTube or Twitch or whatever, and grown his own brand as opposed to supporting the Splinterlands. I don't think that was said out of malice or out of contempt towards Splinterlands, but just saying maybe I should have just doubled down on myself. And I wonder if that's probably something a lot of the people who are let go were thinking now. And simultaneously, are we wondering that as investors in the game even? That's probably something that's true for some of us. I mean, I have to be honest, when you see that happen, you think to yourself, it's a massive change. What does that say about the finances of the game? What does it say about the finances of the team, about the future sustainability through this bear market? And then there was silence for a couple days when the FTX stuff was dropping, and for the purposes of those few people who don't know about FTX, that was a major exchange. There was a whole bunch of shenanigans going on with rehypothecating, which is a fancy word for like lending out borrowed assets. They took your money, they lent it out into high risk investments, and they did that again and again. And then they used their own FTT token to like essentially make the books look sustainable. And it all fell down, and it was a massive, massive loss that has ramifications that are reaching into many, many cryptocurrency, bigwigs and other exchanges, and including BlockFi, and there's others too. So there was concerns. Did that touch us? There's a lot of this has been covered in a post, but the short answer is no. None of those exchange problems are touching Splinterlands. None of that directly anyways. But here's the problem. Indirectly, they are. Indirectly, all of that is having a dampening impact on the prices of, for instance, Bitcoin moving from like 21,000 to 16. And of course, that has ramifications for a blockchain-based video game that stores its assets largely in cryptocurrency. And we don't know what the portfolio of Splinterlands or with Agro or Matt specifically looks like, but we do know that they hold a good amount of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, as well as apparently US dollar fiat for business purposes. Some of this is available in the blog post that we'll look at in a few minutes, but a lot of it's just, you hear it when they speak about the many public opportunities where Agrod speaks. They'll talk about how they hold assets outside of it. You see Agrod and Yaba buying Roonies using ETH. Well, that ETH is their own assets. They've clearly got financial resources outside of Splinterlands. They're not 100% pot committed here. And so How sustainable are they? Well, clearly they felt they weren't sustainable enough. They didn't know for certain. They didn't feel exceedingly confident that their assets would be able to sustain them through this existing bear market. And man, things have gotten bad, but things could get way worse. Bitcoin right now, 16,600. Ethereum, 1,200. Just the other day when Rooney was launching, it was around 1,600 bucks. XRP, 38 cents. And based on my favorite blockchain backer, he feels that this is probably just below a resistance, and is just really not sure what's going to happen next with that one. But I mean, all of the main tokens, man, look at, there's a lot of red. These are small red numbers, but man, things have been languishing. DC was at 800 Splintoshis, maybe even higher. Now it's 698. I don't know why. I can't say that this isn't going to keep falling at this point, right? Like now that we've got Lux behind us, that's probably going to keep falling. SPS is down to 4 cents and holding. I hope that bear holds. If that falls, I think from a technical analyst perspective, you need to find like a whole new floor if that support falls. And who knows, is it going down to, 1 penny? Like I've said before, maybe if this bear market, if this isn't done, if Bitcoin's not done falling, and some people are saying 12,000 Bitcoin, some people are saying 3,000 Bitcoin. I don't know, guys. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just saying, if things get worse in the context of understanding what Splinterlands did, you have to recognize that there are huge ramifications on the blockchain-based video game Splinterlands as these market conditions continue to unfold. And so I get it. I see why they were nervous. I see why they took action. I think it actually points to an increased degree of confidence for me in the team's decision making, that they would bite that. That's a difficult conversation. I think even if there are people out there that kind of really hate Aggie and Matt, and I see it in the vehement, like the hatred, the anger, the animosity in some of the comments, whether it's in the town hall or whether it's on some of the, the social media where that stuff's being shared. There's a lot of anger. And I think even if you feel so strongly negatively at this team and this leadership, you have to recognize that in this moment, with this set of circumstances, these market conditions, the tough decisions were recognized and necessary, and that duty, because it's a duty when you recognize a problem and you can do something about it, it's your then duty to do something about it. And they did. Now, of course, these are real people with real jobs that were contributing to our game and to our community. So I'm not saying, excellent or yippee. What I'm saying is, in a tough moment, it sounds like a recognized necessity was observed and actions were taken. And so I'm glad that happened, if that's what really had to happen. And I don't believe for a second that they would have done it if it didn't have to happen. They know their own finances better than we do. And we heard from the town hall, again, I don't have a clip from this, but from the town hall that was live in Discord yesterday only, I heard Aggie talking about how they have like I think he said 21-month window. Maybe it was 2 year. I didn't write it down. I was working on something else at the time. But it was, in that neighborhood. And so we're talking roughly 2 years worth of runway, he referred to it as. And that is a long, horizon to essentially be able to sustain current operations, to sustain the team as it is now, to sustain the production that's intended and planned and hoped for now. And what sort of planning and production and releases can we expect? Well, some of that's covered in the recent blog post. Splinterlands community, to the Splinterlands community Hive blog post. This was posted yesterday, and this is from the Splinterlands official account. Now, it's quite long, and I don't want to read it all for you. If you're interested, the link will be in the description. But suffice it to say, they let go of 45% of their staff, and they're very clear, we did not have any funds in FTX or any other exchanges that are at risk or services, and nor do we have any debt or use leverage in any way. Those are very important points. I'm super glad those are right at the top here. they go on to say, look, they use that phrase again, the company's built a long runway of funds in combination of cash and crypto. That's really important to note because I've got some thoughts on this. But it's good to know some of it's in cash. But the crypto side, because of the reasons we articulated a few moments ago, who knows if that's going to go up or down in the near future. It feels as though down is the right prediction, but maybe in the depth of a bear market with somebody saying it's probably going to go down, maybe that's a buy sign. I don't know, guys. Like, this stuff is so crazy. You feel as though I felt 6 months ago that a lot of the cryptocurrency that hadn't yet pumped should pump, and they haven't still. So I don't know, but we don't know where it's going to go, and the volatility around that is going to affect the runway that we've heard about. And like I said, they don't list a number of months here, but they specifically did in the town hall. They said, I think it was 21 months worth of runway based on current operations, current savings, current investments. And the question was asked by somebody in the audience, what if Bitcoin price drops further? And the response was very candid. Agrod said that would affect our timelines. And so, that's important to recognize, but I really appreciate that it was answered openly and honestly, and I didn't sense any sort of hesitation or concern or even fear or anxiety from Aggie in responding to that. He didn't dodge the question. He got right into it. He said very, very concisely that would affect our timelines, which to me means that they're being realistic about this stuff, and they really do believe that sort of window is enough. And the question is, do you? But I actually believe it, because I think if we fast forward, if we kind of, I guess, first of all, if we rewind and we look at how long the Bitcoin price has been falling, really from that $65,000 mark. I mean, frankly, it's been, let's look at the chart quickly. Bitcoin here over at 65,000 was November 11th, 2021. That's a full year ago. So we're a full year, I'd say, into the bear market. Are we one more year? Are we 2 more years before we start to see price increases? That's an interesting question. I mean, historically speaking, I think you could point to justifications for saying we are probably 1 to 2 years away from significant price increases, or at least 6 to 12 months around before we start to see like a true bottoming and a true kind of, we know where the bottom is. That doesn't mean it has to go down a lot more. It could stay sideways like where we're at right now for 6 to 12 more months, and that would announce this is a new floor, historically speaking. But the question is, does history still matter? We're in a moment now where, in my opinion, and I've talked, to some extent on this channel about this, like I really am interested in finances, family, and faith. I've talked about that before, but finance to me doesn't just mean cryptocurrency, doesn't just mean Splinterlands. It actually means the broader market, the major indices, stocks, bonds, gold, silver. And in looking at like everything from bond yields inverting to like the US government, as well as every other fiat currency, every other central bank continuing to print money, and and simultaneously increase interest rates, that is not sustainable. Like, it's period 100% not sustainable. That will blow up. And I think it is blowing up. And yet the stock market is going up right now. And yet crypto is really collapsing right now. And how do you read the smoke, right? How do you read these tea leaves? I don't know. But my point is, in this chaos, I think we can recognize that there's certainly room for, I guess, a substantial prolonging of what we're already seeing, and thinking through how you believe that will unfold is deeply important, so that you can come to the conversation around Splinterlands and the sustainability of this project. So I'm not telling you that you have to agree with me. You have to decide for yourself where you land on those. And this moment with this sort of activity around Splinterlands happening is exactly the moment you need to start kind of forming your opinions around this stuff. Maybe that means more research, but it's got to happen because it has implications for the predictions and sustainability of what they're doing here. They talk about how the runway shrank as a result of the combination of, unfortunately, the continually weakening cryptocurrency market, in addition to the broader markets, was a double whammy for our business. Not only did the value of the cryptocurrency holdings decrease, shortening our available runway, but also the amount of revenue that the business could bring in dropped as our community felt the effects of the market. Absolutely. And so is that going to continue? Are we going to fall farther and further down? And is that going to be like drying up of all incoming resources? Is going to be an abandonment and a sellout of those who are already here? You have to ask those questions. I mean, clearly, if you know me, I don't think those things. But really, sincerely, you have to decide those opinions for yourself. This is not, I've said forever, that this is not a days, weeks, months thing. This is a multi-year opportunity to grow your finances through an investment that will pay you essentially dividends, but it also has that opportunity to be the growth stock, right? It's like, it's these cards, these assets can multiply in value theoretically in a significant way if the game ends up landing where they're aiming. But simultaneously, you've got the dividend paying side of it, which is the daily rewards, the brawl rewards, the tournament battles, the staking rewards, etc. So I think this is an amazing revolutionary thing, but you have to navigate all of those conversations now for yourself, because the way that this would fail, if it is going to fail, is going to be due to the bear market crushing it and suffocating its growth, its team. Here's my thought on that though, and hopefully it's a refreshing breath of air for you in this moment of kind of questioning and concern and self-doubt, maybe even. Recognize this: one, we survived a bear market before. Two, if the developers had to, they could pull back to exactly where they were before. They don't need to have 100, they had roughly, I think, 100 staff or something like that. They let go half of them. Now, do they need 50? I don't think so. Not to operate, to sort of stop and stay still, right? Why would they? Then the servers are up, the network's running, the game is playable and enjoyable as is. If they had to pull back to Aggie and Yaba, they could. And so I can't see, I have zero understanding of how a bear market pressure in and of itself could stop Splinterlands from growing. I think there's more resilience within the team than that. But my question then becomes, is this a normal bear market where we get a bull cycle in 2 years, like roughly 2 years-ish from now? Or is this a situation where something different is happening and we're going into like a Great Depression? And again, I got to point you back to that prior conversation. How do you feel about all those topics, about central banks, about printing, about interest rates, you need to figure that stuff out, guys, because it has implications for investing in things like this too. I don't think the game is going to fail. I don't think the team is going to disappear. I don't think their assets are going to go to zero, but I think this broader conversation of economic health has to come into this picture, because it actually informs what you should do, how you make your best practices and your best plan for your own self. So this is probably where I'm going to land. The last point that we need to talk about is like, what now? Like, where do we go from here? They've made these major cutbacks. Is it going to stop all growth? I talked a moment ago about how they probably could pare back to a place where they stop all growth, and that would be still a new lease on kind of the extending their runway, as they call it, if they absolutely had to. But they're not aiming there right now. They're currently still focusing on delivery. So despite the fact that crew has been diminished, the tone is, we have plans and they will continue proceeding in a very clear and well laid out fashion. Let's read this and then we'll stop. Going forward, Splinterlands team will be 100% focused on one thing: delivering on promises to the community. There will be no new games or pre-sales for the foreseeable future. Despite having a smaller team, we believe we can be much more efficient through being laser focused. Yep. We will be working on an updated roadmap for 2023, and then we will plan the release before the end of this year. That's going to be fun to see. That's, possibly 4 weeks away, not more. And we expect that it will at least contain the following items. Look at this. So these are the things that we can expect to continue seeing growing and being released despite the staffing changes. Land release to some degree, probably the claimable land plots, the subdivision of bigger parcels of land, perhaps more, but I think that'll be the one target they'll really shoot for. And I heard Nate comment on lands happening, he said. And so that's all they promised at the Splinterfest. They said this year their intent was to have it essentially claimable and subdividable. And so if that's all they did, that would be a cool step in the right direction. Rooney, I guess the staking of Rooney. Tower defense, getting that going, continuing that process and getting it out. That's amazing. That's amazing. I might have thought that might have silenced. That might have went on the wayside. Rebellion still happening. SPS validator nodes. That's huge. This I would have thought this might have been technically challenging. New player experience. I don't know what that means, but that's theoretically good. I'd like to see the devil's in the details. Gameplay and reward updates. Again, the devil's in the details. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. That's always a question. DEC and voucher syncs. We definitely need those. As it stands, the voucher syncs are allegedly greater than the production, but vouchers continue to tank. They're down to 15 cents now. DEC is lower than it was before Lux Vega. Genesis League goals also. So that's tons of new stuff coming still. The question is, do these targets get met? Because that's on the intended roadmap. Those are things they're still aiming at. Does this new change make that unfeasible? I don't know. You don't know. No one can know. It's possible that the existing team can do those things. And if the bear market prolonged past, say, the 20-month or the 2-year time horizon that they've got for their current savings, and they had to pare down the staff even more, let's hope they don't. But let's say they did, would that dramatically transform what we've got here? And if there's more contagion within the cryptocurrency market that impacts other exchanges and brings down Bitcoin price even more, and therefore altcoins also, does that? Of course it does. It translates into more and more conversations and questions around time horizon, what's being cut, what's not, who's being let go. It's just, there's so many question marks around this issue of whether these targets can be met that are dependent on market variables that aren't yet known. I think in the end, you have to decide for yourself whether you believe that the game's fun and if it has a future. Of course, I love it. And I still stand by my declaration that I believe that they have a future. I think you heard me say a moment ago that whether it's this existing team, the remaining team that exists here now, and these projected, forecasted, intended productions roadmap items, or whether it even had to be pared back further, I'm enjoying playing the game as it is and the rewards associated with that as it is. And I think tens of thousands of others are also. And I really firmly believe that if we take this seriously, especially in a moment like this, and you just play the game, forget about long-term significant investments. Yeah, that's great. If you got money, buying in a bear market can be a really lucrative way over a long time horizon. When and if the bull market returns, you have those bags packed. But forget about that and just say to yourself, do I like the game, and am I willing to enjoy playing this thing over the next 2 years? Because I think when this sort of news happens, inevitably it scares certain audiences away. And if it scares them away, that's more piece of the pie for you who stay. So being attentive to that opportunity and recognizing that, if anything, this is an improvement to those who are attentive to Splinterlands, who are investing time and attention within this game, because you're going to be receiving more of the rewards that are available because certain participants are no longer seeking their part of that pie. So you get those cards, you get the SPS staked, you just accumulate through time and attention. And I think if my predictions around this being sustained are right, then you benefit. But the question is, do you think that this is sustainable? Do you think that this is reasonable? Do you think that the team is going to continue to be on target for some of these goals, and that the pared back team can accomplish what they intend? I think there's been a great degree of honesty. I think there's been an open book here, generally speaking, in a way that most companies don't offer. And that, to me, speaks to a greater degree of trust in them reaching their intended targets. Do you feel the same way? And as he said in here, I think this will be the last thing we'll finish with, because Aggie said it best. I think this is Aggie. I assume this is Aggie who wrote this, but I don't know that. He goes, some people may see this as a reason to sell their assets and move on. As much as we hate to see anyone go, we also celebrate the fact that they owned their own assets, which they are free to sell when they wish. For everyone else, we believe this marks a new beginning for Splinterlands. With these changes, we have positioned the organization to ride out a long and protracted bear market and or global recession, while at the same time continuing to build our product. Now, if that's true, first, and delivering value for our community, if that's true, that is so exciting. They're positioned to ride out a protracted bear market, long protracted bear market and or global recession, while at the same time, not just riding it out, but continuing to build the product and delivering value for us. If that's true, guys, wow. And I think you maybe seen some of this already. We talked on the channel probably 2 years ago or whenever it was, like when this thing first started blowing up, we talked about how Splinterlands has the opportunity to provide insulation from a bear market, and I believe you've seen that. Have the assets, the card assets, fallen? Has SPS and DEC fallen? Yes, yes, yes. Have they been insulated from the broader, trauma that's been experienced in the cryptocurrency marketplace? They have, man. Absolutely, they have. Bitcoin has lost 60-70% of its value, right? From 65,000 down to 16,000. I don't even know. Maybe that's 80%. But Splinterlands cards have, since I'm going to say January of 2022, is that what it was? Whenever the bull run really kind of reached its peak where DEC was over a penny. Let's quickly check that so we can get our facts straight here. So yeah, in October of 2021, DEC was at its bull market tops. And within the next 2 months, the next 8 weeks after that point, not only did DEC fall, but card prices shot through the floor. And I would say it's been, therefore, 1 full year of official Splinterlands bear market. And yet, card prices have moved from my card account. I can't show you this right now because I've got a ton of rental cards. But my card account went from about 120,000 US to roughly 60. And that's a half. Of course, that sucks. And you felt something similar, probably. But that is insulated compared to what Bitcoin has done. And even recently, Bitcoin went from 21,000 to 16,000. And did your cards fall in the last couple of weeks? I haven't seen that. Now, some of the assets have. Vouchers have, DEC has, SPS has. Those liquid tokens have, but the cards haven't, because 1, they produce value. 2, they create enjoyment. And 3, they're not as liquid. And so I just think, guys, nothing has dramatically changed for the long-term sustainability. And so again, for me, it is fun. It has a future. And it's looking more bright today than it was, let's say, a week ago when we first heard about FTX. We didn't know Splinterlands was involved in that. And even knowing that yes, people lost their jobs, the fact that the company has now prepared for what could be a 2-year continuation of this bear market, it should be encouraging to us. I guess I just want to close by saying to all the people who did lose their jobs, I don't know what to say. I mean, bless you guys. I pray that you guys find something. And oh man, yeah, I pray for your families and pray for your marriages, because stress can creep in these moments. God bless you guys. Thank you for doing what you did. Pray blessing over everybody that's involved and hurt by this. So, okay, guys, that's all for me. Have an amazing day. God bless.